Hi, my name is Charles Holbrook, and I'm a web performance expert. I've done optimization for some very large sites for America Online and Bank of America, as well as a bunch of smaller WordPress-based sites on Elance. Typically with the Elance sites, you're not looking at shaving milliseconds off or optimizing things at a deep level like you would be at a larger enterprise that's already spent a significant amount of time and money optimizing a page for performance. With yours, I saw a significant issue with the loading of one service. So if I reload your page, we'll see the page itself, this header comes back really quickly, under a second, which is quite good for a WordPress site like this. But there's this one service that takes 1.5 seconds to come back, which is quite terrible compared to the rest of your site, which is loading everything else in under a second. So this is probably the big issue you're seeing, where this content here is getting hung up on this AJAX call, so it doesn't get rendered until this comes back. The good news is we can probably solve this with a modified caching strategy. So for some reason, this AJAX call is getting met and pulling in this data. It might be driven off a plugin or some type of configuration that requires it to load dynamic data. But looking at this content, it doesn't seem like it is that dynamic. It's probably something you configured once, and every time you need to reconfigure it, you might have to regenerate that cache. But other than that, if you go to the site, it should load this from a relatively static URL. So I would say that is your biggest issue. There's also a few other problems I saw, like you're not minifying your CSS. It looks like you are minifying your JavaScript here, but your CSS is still coming back as a whole bunch of different files. It's not a huge issue. If we look at that, we can see that even though you do have like 12 CSS files, they all come back relatively quickly. So you're not tasking the browser too hard there. It's just really this one AJAX service call where your significant issue is. So what I propose is I generally take a triage approach to fixing stuff like this. And this is the first thing I would fix and get that real fast. And then there might be a bunch of smaller, minor things like this CSS caching that I can improve. And I'll take a look at those, everything in more depth, look through the code, look at the plugins that are getting loaded, look at your caching solution that's currently provided, make sure it's configured correctly, and if not, fix it. Or fix whatever it needs to be. If there's some source code fixes, I am a developer. I spend a lot of time in code still, so I can generally fix any issues with PHP or source code that's performing poorly. I love to work with you, and for something like this, I'd probably say a $250 budget would get it done. The more you want to spend, the better it gets, but I think I can get you under a second with that $250 budget, no problem.